MV3 Traders Futures Trade Radio is brought to you by The Ultimate Trader's Guide, your one-stop shop for the most valuable income-producing information on the internet. Go to ultimatetradersguide.net to learn more. Link in the description below. All right, what's going on? What's going on? How we doing? Hope everybody had a good week. Had some excitement this morning overnight with the employment stuff, economic news. AMP felt the need to increase their margins. I'm sure some other brokers did the same, but the only email I got was from AMP. Not a whole lot happened off of that. I mean, we had like a volatility spike of about 80 points. Relative to what we saw overnight, that's not a huge thing, and we've already started to retrace a majority of that as we're open with not much energy. So it's been slow, like for the most part. During RTH. Let me lock in. Let me get focused. We are back below VWAP. And once again, my main focus is making sure I'm executing the way I'm supposed to be. And it's not gonna be strong narration, but I'll be saying anything I say out loud. It's the same stuff that I would say if I was trading by myself. We're continuing to going on a bit of an inventory hunt here. Our main inventory was near PR -2, which we still got a ways to go to get there with PR 50. Interesting volatility spike there. Looking a little bit choppy. Now we got supply of 1210 that we're lifting. Kind of fighting against picked up some quick inventory off of MSRP, and we're back above automation. Kind of screwed that up. Choppy price action right now, and I don't mean choppy by up and down. I mean we're making quick little like moves, covering a lot of space at random points. I mean, it is up and down also, but trading in this no orders left behind manner. Back to dropping the inventory. Got a little volume gap right here, right before the PR low. Should slice right through that, which we did. Took a mechanical inventory break at 950. There's a decent inventory response off of 940. That's where we got our news inventory. So a quick little response there off the news. Now we got some coming back into some buy interest in that area. Also front running the session low. Looking at supply off of 960. Now we're using a PR low for some inventory. Raises. Got a little micro markup phase. See where it takes us. Pretty significant supply lift there. So if we come back in the other direction, that should give us some momentum. And continue to drop. Also noticing I'm not 100% locked in this morning. Execution from the perspective of how I'm executing. We're getting close to the session low, but we're taking a quick little break here to take care of some buying. It could be buying to open and buying to close. So you can be buying in either direction. But we do see some buying in this 930, 940 area. So letting go of some of that inventory, got a bit of budgeting going on here from a wholesale perspective. Take another inventory dip down to the session low off that PR -1. Dropping with some strength, breaking into the bear zone. The charts are being funny. I don't know why my chart moved like that. Did take a quick short there, but I had to go ahead and take a scalp off, but it only filled in didn't fill in any of my Sierra chart accounts. Filled in multi-charts. It's not the way my system is supposed to work out. Got another supply drop, and now we're dropping the inventory one more time. If it filled the way it was supposed to, I would have still be in this right now. Oh, I would have took off one, like above 910, and I'd have been holding a runner. But if we go back to supply from this point, that's what I'm looking at now. Be an indication for like a look below and fail. We are dropping the session low. We've come down from that open. Still holding this markdown phase. We're dropping the inventory, dropping the supply. Taking that inventory off that 910. I mean, supply off that 910. Which was previous inventory. So as of right now, it looks like we can continue to hold and have another sell-off day where we've broken below the 200 moving average. But our pivot from last week, several days ago, coming into that, the low of that daily inventory around 840. Big drop of the inventory. Off of that, you would want to see follow through that we're not getting. Like some interesting 945 volatility. A little bit after 945. But one consistent pattern that I've noticed around 945, and it happens every once in a while. It's not something that's extremely reliable. Is there be some volatility that some, like random volatility boosts that have come in. It's always short-lived. It doesn't last that long, like a few seconds. It's like there's a participant that shows up at 9:45 that likes that time period. Show up in there, conduct their business, and get out of there. So far, I've been saying that maybe once every other week. It's not consistent. It's not a consistent thing, but it's consistent in terms of it's something that I've seen multiple times, but it's not like on a schedule. And that may, with how it's trading right now, that may have been my last trade for the day. Gives me an opportunity to end the week on a positive note. Hasn't been the easiest week for me. Saying a lot of from wholesale perspective, just keeping that perspective. A lot of negotiating going on in terms of how I'm reading a price action. Just it's another way of terming what most people would call chopped. Dropped the inventory down to about, so after we lifted the supply above 890, we dropped it back with that volatility like to around 865, and now we're back at that supply and we're lifting the supply again. So if I was to be trading this, my stops will be tight for me personally. Just from a risk management perspective. And we're kind of hovering the automation, which is starting to close up. as of right now, automation is not really being used as for a particular, to move price in a particular direction. Could just be in this, could be being used, because I am seeing a reaction when price touches, the automation points. So it could be like some positioning, accumulation, maybe some distribution. But I don't want to over speculate. I'm just looking at what it's doing right now. We got this. So we set up shop between 896 and 866. And we're just auctioning in between that and inside of the shop. This is from a structural standpoint. This is interesting because normally you set your inventory, you set your supply, and you'll stay within that range. And if you break outside of that range, that would be an indicator for some movement, for some directional movement. But what we did here is we set a tight inventory and supply range, and then we opened it on both sides. We actually did it 2 times, and now we're auctioning in between that range. So we're working both sides here. If I was a breakout trader, either long or short, you could be feeling trapped no matter which direction you're trying to take the break. Usually the most comfortable thing to do is to sit on the sidelines if you don't get caught on one side or the other. Make sure you maintain your risk. Keep that risk small. So now we're making our way back to PR -1. That can, still not counting a rotation. So I can kind of count that. So that would be a rotation back long for me, from just how I count rotations. Again, everything that I say is not trading advice. I would highly recommend to not trade based off of what I say. And also remove all these lines I got. I say the stuff, what I say out loud, kind of also to share my perspective, of course, right? That's why I'm here in the first place. But also, even if I trade by myself, I still say like what I'm reading out loud. And it helps to kind of, to make sure I'm locked in and I'm focused on like what's going on in the moment, and maintaining awareness to self, making sure it's like me speaking it out loud and maintaining awareness to how the energy that I'm holding, the frequency that I'm holding, just making sure that it's a way of monitoring how focused and how locked in I am. But it's a technique that has helped me develop a lot, just from that awareness standpoint. Also, it's been very beneficial to maintaining focus. If you're engaging with this environment using multiple senses, like I'm using sight, I'm using my voice. You know, also there's also touch, since I'm, you know, doing stuff with, you know, drawing on the charts and executing and all that stuff, right? And the more ways I engage with this, the more that I'm into it, and my focus is there, and I can pick up on little nuances because I'm focused on it, I'm locked into it. Versus if I'm just looking at it, I'm not really saying anything, I'm just thinking in my head, you know, I'm just watching the charts. It's easy for the focus to kind of fade away if I'm just in my head with trading. But the more I engage with it, the more I can stay zeroed in on what I'm supposed to be here to do. And then I can be aware when I'm not locked in. Like earlier, I realized that I wasn't, because how I was expressing it, pairing that to how I was using my other senses, I knew I could tell that I wasn't locked in as much as I needed to be. So that gave me a point of focus for what I needed to improve in the moment. You know, it's a lot like playing a sport. The more senses that you engage while you're participating in any kind of activity, the more focused you're going to be on it, right? The better that you can perform in that environment, the more you're going to get out of that situation. We got this little negotiating range here, about a 15-point range. That lifted the supply, so you would expect to see some continuation. Right now I have a long bias, but the market can do whatever it wants to do. I have no control over that. Just as a reminder to myself, and also as a disclaimer to, once again, not trade off of what I say. Now we're breaking back into kind of well, we haven't made it there yet, but coming back to that overnight session low. Picking up some supply off of that. It's a quick little volume boost there at 910. 910 has been a popular location, so in this 910 to 900 range, trying to see some participation increase. Got about a minute and a half before B period. Looking for if we're going to get another supply lift here, back inside of that range, back inside of the opening range. Sitting here thinking I got an idea for something for the channel. I need to write that down. Take my eyes off the charts for a minute. B period. Let's see. Kind of missed it. I wasn't looking when we rolled over to the new period. It's a bit of a volatility spike. Something that I got to record in the live journal. So it just so happens in hindsight capital says that the bias was right this time. It's not always right. Make that clear. So we're back inside the opening range. Typically from here, what you'll want to see is we continue to, go back below the overnight session low. Got that note done. Stay tuned for a community post later on sometime today. Also stay tuned. I don't know why I forgot about this at the beginning. Another episode of Trader Triggers is coming up at 11 within the hour. Some of the tips if you're trying to learn how to trade for free off the internet, which is basically how I learned. Well, I read a couple books, but mostly those books, like the main book that I always talk about, it really only introduced me to the other markets, which is how I started trading futures. But for the most part, everything that I learned the way that I learned how to trade was from just the information that's on the internet. I did pick up one course off of Udemy, but that was only out of curiosity to see how a course was for trading, so I could make my own course. So I was only like kind of, reverse engineering course creation when I picked that up, because it was on options, and I never really well, actually, I'm kind of going back into the options, but I didn't buy the options course to learn how to. I didn't buy that course to learn how to trade. I bought it to reverse engineer how others have made a course. But anyway, so basically, how I learned how to trade was mostly off of YouTube, primarily YouTube. They're really all YouTube, like 98% YouTube. And then I may have, learned some terms and stuff from other internet resources, from other websites like Investopedia. But anyway, I use free resources off the internet to learn how to trade. So kind of in today's Trader Triggers is going to be about what I've learned is some efficient ways to go about doing that, so you don't get lost in all the noise and it doesn't add to confusion, because in the beginning it's a lot of contradicting information that made trying to learn this challenging business more confusing than it had to be. Trading in itself is like just the act of doing it is a simple thing. And you know, the challenge comes with all the internal, you know, things that go along with participating in this environment from an individual perspective. So, but just the technical side of it, that's simple. So, in today's Trader Triggers, which is coming up at 11, that's what I'll be talking about, how to do that efficiently without getting caught up in all the noise. A little bit of a promo there as we continue to lift the supply. Making our way back to VWAP. I'll be looking to see if we definitely expecting some front run of that VWAP. We almost at that point because my front runs, I usually like to look within like a 10-point range. So that would be where we just had a supply response at 970. Understanding that if there are any loans or any shorts, they will be interested in that VWAP. So if I'm holding through this, I'm trying to go ahead and pay myself before we even get to that in a higher probability area to where my orders are going to get filled before the point that everybody else is looking at. That's the only reason why I've been talking about front running. This is awareness of what other participants could do. And, you know, that it kind of helped me make better trading decisions. So it was a brief front run, but we've made our way back to VWAP, starting to get a supply response at VWAP. But the way that it's printing right now could continue going. I'll be seeing that we break above. What happens if and when we break above. Right now we're holding that supply. Main inventory I'm looking at is around 960, where we picked up some quick inventory. Also got automation sitting right there, right above it, or in that range. Sort of a mechanical response off the PR low. Let me go ahead and make that Trader Triggers episode. Go ahead and premiere it. That was a nice inventory response off that PR low area. Came back up to VWAP, slightly looked above that supply. Back inside the shop. Now we're kind of being mechanical to automation, which is holding like a 970 to 965 range. If I was long there, I would have loved to see some follow through once we broke above the VWAP. We didn't get it as of yet. Now we're strongly, it was a pretty strong drop back to the inventory at the PR low. Okay, so we starting to drop the inventory. It was a quick drop. Kind of keeping that same energy that we had before when we was making new session lows, when we made a new session low, where we're extending both sides, kind of trying to work both sides. One thing that that took me a while to trust is that intraday, they do stay, those that, affect price movement, they do stay pretty consistent for an extended time period intraday. So kind of as an example, like right there, we just saw how they played both sides. They broke price out. They set inventory, they set supply, and then they broke price kind of beyond both of those points. So right here we see like we had inventory right off of the PR low, and then supply was off of VWAP. So we took price back up off that inventory point, lifted supply a little bit, brought it back inside the range, then we came back and we lowered. So we played we broke out of that, or broke past that inventory point, right, to trigger some shorts, right? Also, we're creating stops in this on both sides too that we can take advantage of. And now we just did it again. We lifted supply, we brought us back inside the range. So we're extending both sides. And we saw that earlier at what is, near where is the session low is now, near where the session low is now. So we can see these patterns intraday. It's just the hard part is recognizing them and then trusting what you recognize, and then also being able to recognize when it changed. So it helps to have a measurement, a way of understanding, or the way of observing when that pattern is, when they're no longer doing the same thing that they were doing throughout the session. But all of this is super easy to see in hindsight. But the more over time, if you're looking for it, you'll get better at it. At least I did anyway. But the main thing for me was that I needed to trust it, because I would recognize it, and then I would see it again come through. I was like, they're doing the same thing that they did before? Like a lot of times I would see something happen overnight, a particular structure overnight, and then I would see it during RTH or some other way. I would see it starting to play out in real time. But I wouldn't trust it. I was just trying to, I kind of saw it as they were trying to like trick the market, or manipulate the market in a way to where they make you think that they're going to do one thing, but they were doing something else. And that happens, but a lot of times it doesn't happen. A lot of times I actually recognize the pattern that I could have taken advantage of. But one thing I want to definitely highlight is that doesn't change it doesn't change my strategy. It does not change my plan, right? In a way, it kind of gives me a little bit more confidence with how I trade my strategy or how I execute my plan. To either, if it's my plan that's gonna, the possibility of my plan working out or it not working out. So that way, if I still take the trade, but I see that the pattern that I recognized was not in favor of my strategy and I end up taking a loss, well, it makes sense. I know why I took that loss. So it's not as much of an emotional experience out of frustration. It's not as frustrating because I already knew exactly why I was going to take that loss. But like I said, none of this stuff is 100%. So as long as my risk management is there, I'm not going to adjust my style or my strategy or my plan just because of what they're doing, because that's a good way to really get beat up, by other participants in the market. So off of this so we finally broken out of that with some follow through, and I could count that as a rotation back short, just by the way that they traded off of that. Actually, not yet. It's not yet. I'm a little ahead of the game there. Well, let me make sure. So 950 is our inventory. So not quite. It got close to the rotation point, but not all the way there. So my technical bias as of right now would still be long. Also from another technical perspective, it makes sense because we got MSRP down there. Also, that was where we were front running the session low, the overnight session low. And so now, here we go, back inside of that shop. I'll be looking to see if we take out those previous supply areas. But what I would not be expecting is for it just to slice through right back above. I wouldn't expect this to work out quickly. That's what I'm saying. I would not expect it to work out quickly. But anything is possible. Right. So on that note, that takes me to the end of my trading window, or my window. I'm gonna go ahead and close down the shop for the day. I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in to another Futures Trade Radio, another live stream. Again, be on the lookout for trader triggers within like the next 40 minutes, and also a community post. I'm just be on the lookout for more stuff coming from this channel, since I can't talk. Anyway, with all that being said, hope you have a good weekend, and I'll see you on the next one. Trade it easy.